Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. As many of you know, I've been covering the situation surrounding Alex Maurer and her attacks on YouTube, Twitch, and VidMe content creators over the past several weeks. What has followed has been a whirlwind of information and verbal abuse both from and directed towards Alex Maurer in larger quantities than I'd ever believed possible. Within the past 3 weeks, more than 100 content creators have been affected and countless DMCA strikes have been filed by Maurer against content creators as well as the games themselves. Through all of this, Alex Maurer has issued death threats against both Leonard French and myself as well as several other people. She has harassed and she has denigrated numerous people as well. She's even gotten to the point in her seeming disconnection from reality to reach out to ask both Leonard French and myself for help against those sending her death threats earlier today. And while my response was nowhere near what you would call professional, please bear in mind that I am not unbiased in this situation. Alex Maurer, a person whose actions have shown a potentially severe mental instability, has threatened to kill me, and given who the threat was coming from, I do freely admit that I do feel concern over my daughter's well-being and safety because of this person's threats. Through all of this, I have tried to maintain my objectivity as much as possible within my videos, making certain that any facts or potentially damaging statements were made with visual evidence to back up my claims. I've even deliberately left information out of my coverage out of an attempt at basic human decency and a desire to maintain the focus on the legitimate issues at hand and not engage in tabloid journalism. However, through it all, this topic has been mired with behavior the lowest common denominator on both sides. What with death threats and doxing occurring with startling frequency, Maurer herself is every bit as guilty as those she's now claiming to be a victim of, having doxed her own attorney, as well as her father and more than one person online as well. All in all, this entire story has become a complete mess for all parties involved, and surprisingly enough, with the exception of Jim Sterling, Total Biscuit, and The No larger entities have picked this story up yet. That is until Jonathan Holmes over at Destructoid decided to take a stab at this particular topic earlier today. And the article, if it could be called that, lacked even any semblance of research and was highly biased in favor of Alex Maurer. Holmes stated that he had come across the story involving River City Ransom Underground by, quote, digging around Twitter, until he had found a rumor that the game was taken down by composer Alex Maurer, who reportedly worked on some of its music. And after reading through the whole article, I'm actually amazed on multiple levels. First, I found it impossible to believe that a games journalist could be so utterly inept as to write an article so completely bereft of facts, instead relying on statements from Maurer directly, and when that wasn't possible, Holmes instead made use of vague and dull non-specific statements in order to continue pushing the narrative that the article constructs of Maurer being a plucky composer wronged by the big bad developers and then harassed by the general public. Holmes even went on to say toward the end of the article, since word got out that Miss Maurer had issued the DMCA orders against the two games, a sadistic feeding frenzy has formed in certain pockets of the internet, leading to Miss Maurer receiving multiple online death threats and ambulance-chasing opportunistic video game pundits demonizing her in long-winded, fruitless YouTube rants. Kind of like this one right now. And by that last statement, I can only assume that Holmes and or Maurer meant myself, Jim Sterling, Total Biscuit, and some others as the, quote, ambulance-chasing opportunistic pundits. Although the statement is just vague enough for Holmes to be able to say to anyone, no, I didn't mean you, I meant someone else. It's a fun little trick of passive aggressiveness that I've seen used a multitude of ways over the years. Holmes finished the article by attempting to maintain some form of neutral ground by finishing with an exceptionally neutral statement after an extremely biased article that was thinner than a molecule when it came to any form of factual evidence. Now, at first, I was highly offended by this article on a personal level, as I've poured so much work into maintaining a careful chain of evidentiary proof when it comes to the content that I've put out, that to me, to see the topic so completely mishandled by Holmes, I was frankly disappointed. But what this has actually done is merely underscore why there is a need for games pundits and journalists that exist outside of traditional games media. You see, I'm not a journalist. I make no claim to any form of employment or education along those lines. What I am, at the end of the day, is merely a man with a microphone and a passion for gaming. But when I discuss news topics, I do make an effort to do some research and make sure that I maintain visual evidence of claims made. Reason being is partly that YouTube is very much a visual medium. I have the capability to show people without explaining to them what someone has said. You don't have to take me at my word the vast majority of the time. You can actually see it on the screen. And also, as for many other channels, mine relies very heavily on the premise of trust. Those that view my channel have to be able to put faith in me that when I relate something to them, I'm telling them the truth, or at the very least, that I'm relating accurately what I was told or informed. It's not a perfect system by any means, and I have made mistakes in the past. Those mistakes have always been identified, corrected, and publicly stated as such, but I've never made such a titanic misstep as what Holmes has related here, and in doing so, this professional journalist has, within a single article, violated more precepts of journalism ethics than I thought anyone could. In this industry, integrity is worth its weight in gold, and it is seeming to be an increasing rarity in this day and age. And when it comes right down to it, Holmes has misrepresented the facts, and Destructoid's publishing the article shows how little professional games journalism respects the truth. No attempt was made to find it here, and as such, this entire topic has been grossly misrepresented and could potentially do more harm than good. As always, please do let me know what you think down in the comments below. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.